The Pentagon did not respond to a request for comment. The proposed blacklist comes as the U.S. government has doubled down in recent months on what it regards as a growing threat of foreign adversaries spying on private sector companies important to infrastructure and defense. One of the main concerns of the Trump administration has been about China's growing dominance in 5G, the next generation of mobile communications, which will allow for lightning-fast downloads and futuristic smart cities. China, officials say, is the primary threat, and they point to a growing list of indictments for industrial espionage and theft of trade secrets from the Department of Justice that illustrates that reality. Supply chain cannot be that fuzzy word we're uncomfortable with, said Bill Ivanina, acting director of the National Counterintelligence and Security Center, speaking in Washington at an event earlier this month. The mistakes we've made for decades have to be fixed. Trying to guard the supply chain is no easy task. At Lockheed Martin, one of the Pentagon's largest contractors, there are over 20,000 different companies in the supply chain, according to James Connolly, the company's vice president and chief information security officer, speaking at the same event. In January, the Justice Department indicted Huawei for stealing data from T-Mobile, and in 2018, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security warned that Russian hackers were targeting suppliers for energy utility companies to access and surveil the industrial control systems. But for companies operating in a global marketplace, the process for engaging with the Pentagon on mitigating supply chain risks can be opaque. Since 2015, the Pentagon has reserved the power to block companies from getting military contracts based on what it deems a supply chain risk without providing transparency on how companies can allay those concerns. For the government, whose national security officials see security threats around every corner, the black box strategy makes sense as a way to avoid tipping off the adversary on how to evade scrutiny. However, it has made life difficult for the many companies hoping to do legitimate business around the world. Both efforts have required a broad but still undefined strategy beyond bans and blacklists, say officials, who acknowledge there are few easy solutions. The Trump White House has reportedly planned to place a ban on Chinese telecommunications companies Huawei and ZTE for their 5G development, but no executive order has been issued. More recently, senior U.S. national security officials have insisted that the Trump White House strategy on defending future 5G networks is country and company agnostic. Although the UK's National Cyber Security Centre declared Huawei products insecure and open to possible vulnerabilities, the UK government has not come down hard against working with Huawei on 5G. German officials have also expressed public hesitation about banning Huawei from German networks. The United States can try to impose requirements on allies that thou shalt not use Huawei, he said, but it's hard to convince other countries of that position amid the ongoing trade war with China and the competitive package Huawei is offering. Instead, he argues, the United States should invest in its own 5G networks. The resistance to an outright ban on Chinese companies and 5G may be making an impact on U.S. strategy. It seems they are getting cold feet, said retired Brigadier General Robert Spalding, a former National Security Council official focused on 5G and emerging threats. There is no agreement within the White House on how to deal with the 5G issue, said James Lewis, the director of the Technology Policy Program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Just that Huawei is a risk that we need to do something about. I hear CEOs say, hey, we have the best cyber program, said Ivanina, the FBI official. What about human resources, your procurement and acquisition folks? That's your weakest link. How much counterintelligence training do they get?